The massive alien ship hung in the sky above New York City, like a floating mountain made of crystal and light. People in the streets below stopped and stared, some taking photos, others running for cover. Nobody knew what to expect from the Carvathi, Empire's second visit to Earth. Inside the United Nations building, Ambassador Grace Sullivan paced back and forth in the main hall. She checked her watch for the 10th time. The Carvathi delegation was supposed to arrive at sunrise, and the sun was already climbing higher in the sky. "They're here!" someone shouted from the entrance. Grace straightened her jacket and took a deep breath. This meeting would decide Earth's future. The doors opened, and 12 Carvathi entered the hall. They were tall creatures, standing nearly 8 feet high with bodies covered in shells that looked like living armor. Their shells changed colors as they moved, shifting from deep blue to purple to green. Each alien had 4 arms and eyes like giant diamonds that saw everything at once. The lead alien stepped forward. His shell was darker than the others, marked with golden symbols that proved his high rank. "I am Commander Zarvek of the Carvathi Empire," he said. His voice sounded like several people speaking at the same time. "We have come to collect the debt your world owes us." Grace forced herself to stay calm. "Welcome to Earth, Commander. I'm Ambassador Sullivan. We're ready to discuss payment terms for the Kepler 438b incident. 6 months ago, a human mining ship had accidentally destroyed a Carvathi space station. The explosion killed no one, but it ruined 20 years of Carvathi research. The aliens demanded payment, and they had weapons that could destroy Earth if humans refused. "We are not here to discuss," Zarvek said. "We are here to collect. Your planet cannot pay us in money or technology. You have nothing we want except one thing." Grace's assistant, John Martinez, moved closer to whisper in her ear. John was a young man with worried eyes who had been working on this problem day and night. "What do you want?" Grace asked, though she feared the answer. "A human female," Zarvek announced. "She must be young, healthy, and intelligent. She will travel to our homeworld and marry our Crown Prince Velkar. This marriage will connect our peoples and clear your debt." The room fell silent. Grace felt her heart pounding. Sending a human woman as payment felt wrong, like something from ancient history when daughters were traded for land or peace. "You're asking us to trade a person?" Grace said carefully. "Humans don't do that anymore. We need to find another way." Zarvek's shell flashed red, a sign of anger. "There is no other way. You have 3 Earth hours to bring us a suitable female, or we will consider the debt unpaid. You know what that means?" Grace looked at John, who nodded slightly. They had been preparing for this possibility, though they hoped it wouldn't come to it. "We may have someone," John said quietly. "A volunteer named Emma Brooks. She's 28 years old, a genetic scientist from Chicago. She scored perfect marks on all the tests we think the Carvathi might use." "She volunteered?" Grace asked, surprised. They had sent out secret messages asking if anyone would consider going to the alien world. But she didn't expect real volunteers. "Yes, Ambassador. She was quite insistent, actually. Said she had her own reasons for wanting to go." Grace thought, for a moment. She didn't like this, but Earth had no choice. "Bring her here." An hour later, Emma Brooks walked into the hall. She was medium height with reddish-brown hair tied back in a simple style. She wore a plain gray dress and flat shoes. Nothing about her appearance seemed special, but Grace noticed her eyes right away. They were bright green and seemed to take in every detail of the room. Emma walked straight to the Carvathi delegation without fear. Most humans couldn't stand being near the aliens. Something about their presence made people nervous. But Emma seemed completely calm. "My name is Emma Brooks," she said in a clear voice. "I understand you need a human bride for your prince. I volunteer for this role." The Carvathi began chittering among themselves in their own language. Zarvek stepped closer to Emma, studying her with his diamond eyes. His shell colors swirled as he examined her. "You are not afraid," he said. It wasn't a question. "No," Emma replied simply. "Why do you volunteer? Most humans would run from this fate. Emma smiled slightly. I have my reasons. I'm a scientist. Your people interest me. This seems like a good opportunity to learn. Grace watched this exchange with growing worry. Something felt wrong. Emma was too calm, too prepared. Most people would ask questions about what would happen to them, where they would live if they could ever come home. Emma asked nothing. Show me your hands, Zarvek ordered. Emma held out both hands, palms up. Grace noticed faint lines on Emma's wrists, old scars that had healed long ago. Zarvek noticed them too. You have been marked, he said. These are ritual scars. How? An accident from my laboratory work, Emma said smoothly. Nothing important. Zarvek made a strange humming sound. His shell shifted to deep purple, then back to blue. You will do, he decided. The human Emma, Brooks is acceptable. She will come with us now. Wait, Grace said. She needs time to prepare, to say goodbye. No, Zarvek cut her off. The debt must be paid now. The female comes with us. Emma turned to Grace. It's all right, Ambassador. I'm ready. I packed everything I need weeks ago. She pulled a small bag from behind a chair, one Grace hadn't noticed before. As the Carvathi surrounded Emma to escort her to their ship, she caught Grace's eye. Her expression was calm, but there was something else there. Not fear or sadness, but something that looked almost like satisfaction, like someone who had just won a game nobody else knew they were playing. Take care of Earth, Emma said. Then she walked out with the aliens, her head high and her steps steady. Grace stood in the empty hall after they left, John beside her. Something was very wrong about all this, but she couldn't figure out what. Did we just make a terrible mistake? She asked. John was staring at the door where Emma had left. I don't know, Ambassador, but I have a feeling that woman is not what she seems. Outside, the crystal ship rose into the sky with Emma Brooks aboard, carrying Earth's payment and humanity's hidden secret toward the stars. The Carvathi ship was nothing like Emma expected. She had imagined cold metal walls and alien machines, but instead found herself in a room that felt almost alive. The walls breathed softly, pulsing with gentle blue light. When she touched them, they warmed under her fingers like skin. Her room was big enough to hold a small Earth apartment. The furniture looked like it was grown rather than built, chairs and tables that shifted shape when she sat or leaned on them. The bed molded itself to her body perfectly, and the air always stayed at just the right temperature. For 2 days, Emma saw no one. Food appeared through a slot in the wall 3 times each day. It looked strange, purple cubes and green spheres, but tasted surprisingly good. She spent her time exploring the room, testing its limits and waiting. On the 3rd day, the door opened with a sound like singing crystal. A Carvathi entered, but this one was different from the others she had seen on Earth. He was taller, more graceful. His shell gleamed like polished pearl with patterns of light dancing across its surface. The colors shifted from silver to gold, to deep blue as he moved. His forearms moved with perfect coordination, and his diamond eyes seemed softer, somehow. I am Prince Velkar, he said. His voice was music, nothing like the harsh tones of Commander Zarvek. I wanted to meet you before we reach my world. Emma stood but didn't bow. She had studied Earth's history and knew that showing submission too quickly was a mistake. I'm Emma, she said simply. Your future bride, apparently. The prince tilted. His head, a gesture she was learning, meant curiosity among his people. You speak as if you have a choice in this matter, don't I? Emma asked. Your commander seemed very interested in willing volunteers. Velkar moved closer, his shell colors shifting to warm amber. You puzzle me, Emma Brooks. Our reports say humans fear us, yet you stand here as if we were having tea in your Earth gardens. Should I be afraid? Most would be. You are traveling to an alien world, promised to marry a being you've never met, with no way to return home. Emma smiled slightly. I'm a scientist. New experiences interest me more than they frighten me. Besides, fear serves no purpose here. The prince studied her for a long moment. You are not what I expected in a human female. What did you expect? Tears. anger, demands to return home, perhaps attempts to bargain or escape. Would any of that change my situation? No, Velkar admitted, but it would be normal. Emma walked to the wall and placed her hand on it. The surface rippled under her touch like water. Your ship is biological, isn't it? Not built, but grown. Velkar's shell flashed with surprise. How did you know that? Humans have not achieved biotechnology. The walls breathe. The furniture responds to thought as much as touch. And there's a pulse running through everything, like a heartbeat. Emma turned back to him. We have theories about such things on Earth. I wrote several papers on biomechanical integration, though my colleagues called them fantasy. Show me, the prince said. Emma traced symbols in the air, and to her delight the ship's holographic system responded. Complex diagrams appeared between them. Molecular structures, energy patterns, biological schematics. This is your work? Velkar asked, his forearms moving through the holograms. Theoretical work, yes, we lack the technology to test it. These equations, they're almost correct. Here, let me show you. The prince began adjusting her formulas, adding elements she had never considered. They worked together for hours, lost in the science. Emma forgot he was an alien prince and she was a debt payment. They were just two minds exploring the universe's secrets. Over the following weeks, Velkar visited every day. They discussed not just science but philosophy, art, and the histories of their worlds. Emma learned that the Karvathi had once been nomads drifting through space in living ships like this one. They had settled on Karvath Prime only 1,000 years ago. Your people fascinate me, Emma said during one visit. You've achieved perfect harmony between biology and technology. And your people fascinate me, Velkar replied. You've survived and thrived despite your limitations. Humans create art and music unlike anything we've seen. Play me something from your world, Emma asked. Velkar touched the wall, and the room filled with sound. Not music as humans knew it, but something deeper. It was like listening to the songs of whales mixed with crystal chimes and the whisper of solar winds. Emma closed her eyes and let it wash over her. Beautiful, she breathed. You understand it? Velkar seemed shocked. Humans usually find our music painful. I hear the patterns, Emma said. The mathematical progressions, the harmonic resonances, it's like listening to the universe think. The prince stared at her. No human has ever described it that way. You speak as if... He stopped himself. As if what? Nothing. A foolish thought. That night, alone in her room, Emma pressed both palms against the wall and closed her eyes. She felt the ship's bioelectric field, the vast network of living circuits that powered it. Deep in her cells, something stirred in response. She pulled her hands back quickly. Not yet, she told herself. The time wasn't right. But as she lay in the adaptive bed, listening to the ship's heartbeat, Emma smiled in the darkness. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Prince Velkar was brilliant and curious, nothing like the conqueror she had expected. He might actually understand when the time came for truth. The ship sang its journey song through space, carrying its precious cargo toward destiny. And in her room, Emma Brooks, who was both more and less than she seemed, counted down the days until revelation. Karvath Prime was a world of crystal spires and floating gardens. The sky shifted between purple and gold as two suns danced across the heavens. Emma stood on the balcony of the guest tower, watching flying creatures weave between buildings that sang in the wind. Tomorrow was the wedding. A young Karvathi female entered the room behind her. Her shell was delicate pink and silver, marking her as an attendant. I am Terla, she announced. I will help you prepare for the ceremony. Emma turned from the view. Tell me about the wedding ritual. Terla's colors shifted nervously. It is a complex. The prince will share his neural pattern with you. Your minds will touch. You will become one in thought as well as law. A telepathic bond? Yes, but humans cannot usually. Terla stopped, tilting her head. Forgive me, Lady Emma, but there is something strange in your bio readings. Emma kept her face calm. Strange how? The palace sensors detect unusual energy patterns around you, like an echo of something else. Terla moved closer, her diamond eyes studying Emma. Have you been enhanced by your Earth scientists? I'm just a normal human. Emma lied smoothly. Perhaps your sensors aren't calibrated for human physiology. Terla didn't look convinced but said nothing more. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She paced her room, feeling the weight of tomorrow pressing down on her. For months, she had prepared for this moment. For years, really. Her whole life had led to this point. She pressed her hand against the window, watching the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Prince Velkar was probably awake too, preparing for a ceremony that would change everything. The morning came too quickly. Terla arrived with 6 other attendants, carrying the ceremonial robes. The fabric was unlike anything on Earth. It moved like liquid starlight, responding to the wearer's emotions and bioelectric field. The gown is alive, Emma said as they helped her dress. All important Karvathi clothing is biotech, Terla explained. It will bond with you during the ceremony, becoming part of the ritual. As the fabric settled around her, Emma felt it testing her, probing her cellular structure. She had to concentrate to keep her true nature hidden from its sensors. The Crystal Sanctum was the oldest building on Karvath Prime. Its walls held the history of the Karvathi people, covered in symbols that told stories spanning millions of years. As Emma walked through the corridors, she read them without thinking, understanding the ancient language as if she had known it all her life. She stopped at one section, her heart racing. The symbols here were different, older. They spoke of the architects, the mysterious race that had created the Karvathi and then vanished. The builders who had seeded life throughout the galaxy. Lady Emma? Terla touched her arm. We must not be late. Emma nodded and continued walking, but her mind was spinning. The time had come. The sanctum's main chamber took her breath away. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet high, made entirely of living crystal that captured and split light into rainbow cascades. Thousands of Karvathi filled the space, their shells creating a sea of shifting colors. Prince Velkar waited at the Yeo altar. He wore robes of deep blue that matched his shell's natural hue. When he saw Emma, his colors brightened with genuine pleasure. The high priestess was ancient, her shell so dark it seemed to absorb light. She moved with careful dignity, each step measured and precise. We gather to witness the joining of 2 peoples, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. Through this union the debt is paid and our futures intertwine. The ceremony proceeded with ritual chants and energy harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. Emma felt the power building around them, ancient forces awakening in response to the ritual. Finally, the crucial moment arrived. Now we perform the neural binding, the High Priestess announced. Prince Velkar, extend your consciousness. Lady Emma, open your mind to receive. This was it, the moment when everything would change. As Velkar reached out telepathically, Emma stopped resisting. She let go of all the barriers she had maintained, all the careful shields that had hidden her true self. The ceremonial robes flared with blinding light as her cellular structure responded to the neural probe. Her eyes burst into golden flame. The living fabric of her dress dissolved into pure energy, revealing intricate patterns carved into her very skin. They matched exactly the ancient symbols on the walls, the writing of the architects. The sanctum erupted in chaos. Karvathi nobles scrambled backward. Some fell to their knees in worship. Others reached for weapons. The High Priestess stood frozen, her ancient eyes wide with impossible recognition. The architects, she whispered. They returned to us. Emma's voice, when she spoke, carried harmonics no human throat could produce. It resonated through stone and crystal, through flesh and shell, straight into the minds of every being present. We never left, she said. We became something new. Prince Velkar stared at her, his shell cycling through colors of shock, betrayal, and awe. Emma, what are you? She turned to him, and her expression held infinite sadness and ancient wisdom. I am what I have always been, Velkar. One of those who created your people. One of those who failed you. And now, one who returns to make things right. The golden light from her eyes filled the chamber, and the walls began to sing, not with Karvathi music, but with the lost songs of the architects. Every symbol on the walls blazed to life, telling the true history of the galaxy. The wedding had become something else entirely. Instead of joining human and Karvathi, it had revealed a truth hidden for 60,000 years. The creators had returned wearing human faces, carrying human names, but burning with the power that had shaped the stars themselves. Emma Brooks, the debt payment, the willing bride, stood revealed as something beyond imagination. And in that moment, the fate of two civilizations balanced on the edge of her next words. The crystal sanctum shook with the power of 1,000 voices crying out at once. Some Karvathi guards drew their weapons, energy blades humming to life. Others knelt, pressing their faces to the floor. The nobility backed away from Emma, their shells flickering between colors of fear and worship. Prince Velkar stood perfectly still, his forearms hanging at his sides. His shell had gone pure white, the color of profound shock among his people. Order! The high priestess struck her ceremonial staff against the crystal floor. The sound rang out like a bell, cutting through the chaos. Let her speak. Emma stepped forward, and the floor beneath her feet lit up with ancient symbols. Her skin still glowed with golden patterns that matched the writing on the walls. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of ages. I know you have questions, she said. I will answer them all. You claim to be an architect, the high priestess said. Prove it. Emma raised her hand. The walls of the sanctum responded, coming alive with holographic displays. Images filled the air, the birth of stars, the seeding of worlds, the creation of life itself. 60,000 years ago we built this place, Emma said. We carved these walls and set these crystals. We created the first Karvathi from base genetic material and guided your evolution. The holograms showed it all. Massive ships deploying, biopods to young worlds, genetic laboratories creating new species, the first Karvathi emerging from their creation chambers. Why? Prince Velkar finally spoke. His voice was steady, but pain flickered in his eyes. Why hide among humans? Why pretend to be something you're not? Emma turned to him, and for a moment her ancient features softened. Because we made a mistake with your people. We gave you too much power too quickly. You turned from creators to conquerors, from builders to destroyers. More images appeared. Karvathi warships burning peaceful worlds, armies enslaving younger species, weapons that could crack planets like eggs. So you abandoned us, Velkar said bitterly. No, Emma said. We chose to try again. We went to a small blue world and seeded it with life. But this time we did something different. We became part of it. The images changed, showing Earth in its youth. Primitive humans emerging from caves, learning to use fire, building their first cities. We merged our genetic code with the new species, Emma explained. Most humans carry our DNA but dormant, sleeping. Only a few of us retain full awareness, awakening when needed. The scars on your wrists, Velkar said suddenly. They're not from lab accidents. Emma smiled sadly and held up her arms. The scars glowed faintly. Activation marks. They appeared when I reached maturity and remembered what I truly am. The high priestess stepped forward. Why reveal yourself now? Why accept the marriage? Because of him, Emma said, looking at Velkar. Your prince is different. He shows wisdom your ancestors lacked. Through our talks during the journey, I saw something in him. The potential for your people to become what we always hoped you could be. She gestured, and new images appeared. They showed possible futures, Karvathi and humans working together, building wonders, exploring the galaxy as partners instead of conquerors. The debt, the high priestess said suddenly. The destruction of your station on Kepler 438b was arranged by us, Emma admitted. No one died. The station was fully automated. We needed a reason to place one of us close to your leadership without suspicion. Angry mutters rose from the crowd. Several nobles called out accusations of deception and trickery. You manipulated us, one shouted. Yes, Emma said simply. Just as we once manipulated your genetics to give you intelligence. Sometimes guidance requires subtle hands. Prince Velkar stepped closer to her. Everything between us was a lie? No, Emma said firmly. My respect for your mind, my fascination with your ideas, my feelings for you, those were real. Emma, Brooks is as much who I am as the architect within. How many of you are there? The High Priestess asked. How many humans are secretly architects? Active? Perhaps 100 across Earth. Dormant? Millions. We wake only when needed, when the galaxy reaches crucial moments. Emma's eyes blazed brighter. This is such a moment. What do you want from us? Velkar asked. I want to offer you a choice. Continue as you are, conquerors taking what you want through force, or evolve into something greater, become true inheritors of the architect legacy. And if we refuse? Emma's expression grew, sad. Then we wait. We've waited 60,000 years. We can wait longer. But Velkar, your people are stagnating. Your technology has barely advanced in centuries. You've hit the wall that comes to all species that choose dominion over cooperation. She waved her hand, and the holograms showed, graphs and data streams. See for yourself. Your population growth is slowing. Your scientific advances have nearly stopped. Your colonies are in decline. Within 1,000 years, the Carvathi Empire will collapse from its own weight. The sanctum fell silent as the implications sank in. The data was undeniable. But there's another path, Emma continued. Accept our guidance. Learn to work with other species instead of dominating them. Share knowledge instead of hoarding it. Grow through cooperation instead of conquest. You ask us to abandon everything we are, a noble called out. No, Emma said. I ask you to become everything you could be. The choice is yours. She turned back to Velkar. The marriage can still proceed if you wish. Not as master and property, but as equals. Partners in guiding both our peoples toward a better future. The prince stood silent for a long moment, his shell colors shifting through a complex pattern of emotions. The fate of civilizations hung in the balance, waiting for his response. The great council chamber buzzed with angry voices. For 6 hours, the Carvathi leadership had argued about Emma's revelation. Some wanted her imprisoned. Others demanded she be worshipped as a returned god. A few suggested immediate war against Earth. Prince Velkar sat alone on the observation balcony, watching the twin suns set over the crystal city. His shell had remained pale gray, the color of deep thought, since the ceremony's interruption. Footsteps sounded behind him. He didn't turn, knowing who it was by the gentle rhythm of her walk. You're troubled, Emma said, sitting beside him on the stone bench. I trusted you, Velkar replied. I opened my mind to you during our journey. I shared thoughts I've never told anyone. And all along, you were this. I'm still me, Emma said softly. The woman who discussed quantum physics with you, who laughed at your jokes about human customs, who felt her heart race when you showed me the star charts of your empire. But you're also something else, something ancient and powerful that created my entire species like we were an experiment. Emma nodded. Both things are true. I am Emma, Brooks, geneticist from Chicago, and I am also Shiara of the Architect Collective, Seeder of Worlds. The merger is complete. I'm not one pretending to be the other. Why should I believe anything you say now? Instead of answering with words, Emma did something she had avoided during their entire journey. She reached out and touched his hand. The contact sent a shock through both of them. Velkar gasped as images flooded his mind, not forced upon him, but offered gently. He saw Emma's memories. Growing up on Earth, completely human until her 21st birthday when the Yaum scars appeared and the memories awakened. He felt her confusion, her fear, and finally her acceptance of what she was. He saw her volunteer for the bride program, knowing it would lead to this moment. But he also felt something else. Her genuine affection for him, growing during their journey together. "You really do care," he whispered. "More than I expected to," Emma admitted. The plan was simple: get close to Karvathi leadership, reveal the truth, offer the choice. "I didn't plan on you being you." They sat in silence. As the suns disappeared behind the horizon, the city lights began to glow, casting rainbow reflections through the crystal buildings. "The council is divided," Velkar finally said. "Half want to reject your offer completely. They say we earned our empire through strength and shouldn't abandon it now. And the other half are terrified of the stagnation data you showed them. They see the truth. Our empire is dying slowly. But they don't know if they can trust architect guidance." "What do you think?" Emma asked. Velkar was quiet for a long moment. I think my people have been running in circles for centuries. We conquer, we expand, but we don't grow. Not really. Our art has become repetitive. Our science advances only in weapons. Our children learn the same lessons their ancestors did 1,000 years ago." He turned to look at Emma directly. "But how do I know your way is better? How do I know you won't simply control us like puppets?" Emma stood and walked to the balcony rail. "Let me show you something." She raised her hands and the air shimmered. A portal opened, not a crude mechanical gateway but a fold in space itself. Through it, Velkar could see Earth, but not the Earth he expected. Cities floated in the clouds. Forests grew in perfect harmony with technology. Humans worked alongside, creatures from a dozen different worlds. There was no war, no hunger, no fear between species. "This is Earth now?" he asked in wonder. "No," Emma said. "This is Earth in 50 years, if both our peoples choose cooperation. The architects don't control directly. We guide, we teach, we open possibilities. The choice to grow is always yours." The portal shifted, showing another vision. Karvath Prime transformed, still beautiful, but now teeming with diverse life. Karvathi working as equals with species they had once conquered, ships of exploration instead of war, cities that sang with new forms of art. "And if we refuse?" The image changed once more. Karvath Prime empty, its crystal spires crumbling. The last Karvathi huddled in failing cities as their empire collapsed around them. "Not punishment," Emma said sadly. "Simply the natural end of the path you're on." Velkar stared at the visions until Emma let them fade. The night air felt suddenly cold. "I need to speak to the council," he said. An hour later, Velkar stood before the assembled leadership. His shell now glowed with royal purple, the color of absolute certainty. "I have made my decision," he announced. "I watched this woman during our journey. I saw her compassion, her wisdom, her genuine desire to understand us. If she is what the architects have become, then perhaps their guidance is what we need." "You would bow to our creators?" demanded General Zektar, the military leader. "Become slaves again?" "Not slaves," Velkar said firmly. "Partners." The humans didn't know what Emma was, yet they grew into something remarkable. They create art we can barely comprehend. They feel emotions we're only beginning to understand. They have chaos, yes, but also incredible beauty. He gestured to Emma. "She offers us a hand up, not a chain around our necks. Yes, it means changing our ways. Yes, it means giving up conquest. But what has conquest truly brought us except stagnation?" The debate raged for another hour. In the end, the vote was closer than anyone expected. But it was enough. The High Priestess stood. "The Council accepts the architect's offer. We will learn this new path." Emma smiled, and for a moment, her form blazed with pure light. When it faded, she was simply Emma again, but somehow more real than before. "Then let's begin," she said. She held out her hand to Velkar. "Partners?" He took her hand, and their joined grip blazed with combined light. Human and Karvathi, architect and created, past and future united. Outside, the first human ships appeared in Karvathi space, not warships, but vessels full of teachers, artists, scientists, and dreamers. The transformation had begun. The debt had been paid in the most unexpected way. Earth had sent a bride, who was also a bridge, a payment who was priceless, a hidden truth that would reshape the galaxy. And in the palace gardens, Emma and Velkar walked hand in hand, planning not a wedding, but a future where created and creator could grow together, toward something greater than either could achieve alone.